Welcome to the Recon Trader. In today's video, I will share with you a bundle of automated indicators for your TradingView charts, especially if you're a beginner to crypto trading. You will more than likely find this bundle of indicators extremely helpful when it comes to drawing trend lines, identifying support and resistance, and perhaps identifying trend reversals. So with that being said, let's take a look at the Bitcoin 1-hour chart. Now, when we jump over here to the 1-hour Bitcoin chart on Binance, I can see right away resistance up here around Bitcoin's recent all-time high. That's obviously going to be a resistance level. And then I can also see support down here. And if we look back and check our 6, we can also see a similar level of support around that same area where the buyers do appear to be stepping up. And in this case, this could be considered a demand zone or a buying zone where people are stepping up and buying. This could be a great opportunity to take a few shots at small positions with anticipation of this price moving back up towards the all-time new high, and you'd want to set a stop loss somewhere down here below where we see the support. And so you would have, a small stop loss of like 1% and a profit target of something like, say, 6%. And so that's a pretty good risk versus reward ratio. Now, I'm eyeballing all of this on this chart. Years and years of experience staring at charts on a daily basis allows me to just glance at this chart and see what's going on with this price action. And then I can also draw in a trend line. If I drop it back here at this low, we'll catch the wick of that candle. And I do a lot of trading off of trend lines. And what I look for is a break of the trend line. And so in this case, where Bitcoin is selling off from its all-time high and really breaks down through this level with a pretty good sized candle, that there could be an entry point to go short. And again, if you just took a quick trade, maybe a shoot and loot trade here just to take advantage of that break, you could get probably a 2% profit. You add a little bit of leverage to that, could turn into, say, a 20% profit in a couple hours worth of holding a position. And you could really limit your risk by putting your stop loss somewhere above this trend line, because if it goes back up, then it was kind of a fake out. And so you'd have a pretty small risk, but you do have a pretty small reward as well, so you want to be right as often as you can on this. But again, this is just one way I would use a trend line. Now, if you're an FNG to actually doing technical analysis on a chart and you're just a beginner, now everything I just talked about might be just absolute gibberish to you. And that is where Vital Algo can come in and help you out by automating your technical analysis, by basically automatically drawing in those trend lines, showing you support and resistance, supply and demand levels, and they even provide some advanced signals. Now, I wouldn't use those signals necessarily as an entry, but you could definitely use them along with other technical analysis as confirmation of trend reversals or possible opportunities to exit or enter a position. Now, I will leave a link to Vital Algo in the description down below. And if you decide to sign up with Vital Algo and use Recon Trader, just Recon Trader, all one word, as a discount code, you will receive a 25% discount. So jumping back over to the chart, let's actually apply the Vital Algo indicator bundle to the chart itself. I'll basically unhide the indicator, and now I have the trend lines, and you can see it drew in a trend line very similar to mine, although it didn't start way back here. But you'll see the same candle cross the same trend line, so it's the same intel essentially. And so with Vital Algo, you don't have to draw in this trend line or this trend line. I will often trade this pattern and trade the breakout, whether it's towards the upside or the downside. But I always want to be aware of where resistance and support are, and these blue lines are resistance, which is right in the area I had indicated before. And the blue line down here is also support. However, This green and red bar you see across the bottom is basically your demand or your buying zone. This is where people are stepping up and buying, and this also can be considered as a support area in this particular case because people are stepping up and buying. And a lot of Forex traders, and back when I traded Forex, this is something you would actually look for, a kind of a counter trend reversal on this pattern once the price reached this demand zone of buying. And so like I said, you could be taking a shot at a few small positions down here with a pretty tight stop loss in case it does continue down. However, the upside potential is actually very good back up into perhaps this resistance, which you can now see via the blue line, which is also what is called a supply. This red line would be your supply zone, which basically is a level that people will sell at, your selling zone, your supply zone. This is your buying or demand zone, and this is your supply or your selling zone. Again, a lot of Forex traders and now crypto traders will use these for support and resistance, or perhaps entry and exit levels. And again, if the price comes up and gets rejected up at this supply zone or selling zone along with resistance and starts to roll over, I would get short again. And in reality, I have actually made some pretty good profit over the years simply by buying and shorting based off of these supply and demand zones or support and resistance zones. If you can get the price action to basically chop in between this kill zone, you have a great opportunity to make a lot of good trades and make some decent money. And then that signal feature I mentioned earlier, you can see where it says downtrend. Obviously, it's identifying the downtrend. And again, here it identifies the downtrend. So this to me would be an alert to pay attention to. And then if I saw this breaking down, then I could take an entry confirming that we are in a downtrend. Same thing back here. If I get a downtrend and I see the price start to move sideways and then break down, to me that would be confirmation. You can use these signals however you please. I just use them more for an alert. And here we see the strong uptrend. And for me, this signal would not be a really strong alert unless we actually broke through the previous all-time high. If we did that, then that would be valid, and I'd also be looking at the volume. The volume is something that you really should be also incorporating into any of these signals. This breakdown through the trend line on this candle, you can see a lot of volume occurred. That is strong confirmation that this price is going down. Same thing here when the price pushes away from this bottom trend line and we get this big push up, you see the volume increasing. However, it does then run into resistance and we get the sell-off. Now, if we come over here to the indicator itself and we can go to the settings, and you can see there's a variety of different settings. You can choose whatever device you're using. The signal mode I have selected right now is trend mode. You can choose both and it will tell you where it thinks there's also the possibility for a reversal. I'll dive into a lot more of these features in the future. And so now would be a good time to shoot that subscribe so you don't miss future videos. But today I really just wanted to focus on a few of the weapons that I thought would help the beginners get started with doing technical analysis when trying to trade cryptocurrencies. And so I just have trend mode turned on as far as the signal mode. Sensitivity mode for the trend mode, I think the default's 8. I found 7 to be dialed in best on this particular chart for this particular pair. This will change, in my opinion, on time frame, whether you're 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute, or you're trading the 4-hour time frame, and it will change with the pairs as they behave differently on the different time frames. Now, they do offer an auto optimize for the signals, and that's something we'll dive into in future videos as well. Moving on to support and resistance, I selected filtered. They also have a predictive support and resistance, and that will populate here in a moment on the screen. And this is more in line with if you're familiar with your pivot points and say your support 1, your support 2, your resistance 1, your resistance 2. It's a little different, and I don't necessarily recommend that. If you're a beginner, I think the filtered will be a little more clear for you to understand in the beginning. Obviously, you'll have to do your own recon to figure out what works best for you. Now, I do have the supply and demand zones on the screen. Again, this bar across the bottom and this little red bar across the top. I don't currently have dark pools or the dynamic reactor on. Again, that's something I'll dive into in a future video. Otherwise, we'll be here for hours going over every little feature, and I'm gonna try to break these down into videos you can sit through and perhaps digest the intel without being overwhelmed. And then I have the trend lines on the screen for you as well. I think a lot of new traders do have difficulty drawing trend lines. A lot of times I see people draw trend lines that benefit their idea rather than actual true trend lines. So I think the trend lines are a good starting point for beginners. And then you can adjust the trend sensitivity. And so if I take the trend sensitivity down to say, let's say 9. And so now you can see the top trend line pretty much stayed the same, and it just bumped the lower trend line over because now it's only going back 9 periods rather than the 15. And then filtered SNR color is basically just changing the color of this line here. It's currently blue. That works for me. Now, dashboard settings and location, that's going to be this little dashboard you see over here. I'm not going to do a deep dive into that today because, again, I don't want this video to be 2 or 3 hours long. And risk calculator, a very cool tool if you're trading with leverage, comes in very handy to help you understand liquidation levels and what have you. So again, in a future video, we'll do a deep dive into that. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. In this video, I just wanted to do a brief introduction on some of the features I think that could be very valuable to new or beginner crypto traders when it comes to technical analysis and charting, trend lines, support and resistance levels, how you might actually use those to trade. And so I will be doing more detailed videos in the future on the Vital Algo indicator bundle. So now would be a good time to shoot that subscribe button. If you like this video, do me a favor, spike a like. If you have any questions or comments, drop those in the comment section down below. I will drop a link to Vital Algo in the description down below. And remember, if you sign up, use Recon Trader as your discount code and you'll get a 25% discount. And in closing, remember, never send your money into battle without first doing your recon. See you in the next video.